too few there. I don't know why that next to last measure is so difficult for me. I think it's the slur 3, tongue 1, tongue 4. I always end up with one too few. So maybe phrasing. Phrasing's the way to fix that. A little bit of accent or tenuto on that, on the beats, on the beat for beat 2 and beat 4. But let's go back to the beginning. So Haidt didn't have a whole lot to say on this one. You know, he, on some of them, he really added to or changed, in some of them, the original score. And I wonder sometimes, when Rose wrote these, were the markings minimal because he just thought it would be intuitive and he expected the player to do like whatever they want? Or were they minimal because he didn't intend for them to be played for more than just a practice piece? I really don't know. I enjoy working on studies that I feel like could be performed, and I feel like a lot of these Rose ones could be performed. A lot of them have a really nice melody, and they would make a good like audition piece if you needed something like that sounded pretty, that was nice to listen to, but would kind of showcase all of the different elements of your playing that you would want to show to a panel or a jury or a judge, or all the parts of your playing that you would need to demonstrate in order to win a job, win a scholarship, win a spot in a studio, whatever. And for the most part, I agree with Haidt's markings. The first one I'm not terribly fond of is this fortissimo that he wrote in measure 6, the last measure of the second line. I feel like this is way too soon. It's the only time, except for here in the second to last line, that he wrote fortissimo, and I feel like that's way too soon. And that other fortissimo is quite short. Is the climax of this study, of this piece, really in measure 6? I don't think so. So I feel like forte-ish, that says ish, is enough. And I don't really feel like I would do like much in the way of like big crescendos in the measure before. I kind of feel like it's one kind of like more subtle crescendo / like just arrow, just air direction, volume moving forward from measure 4. So I think I did that same thing again. I added in like an extra button. Yeah. And that breath that he put in there, I feel like it's fine. This is one of those where I'm just going to have to breathe, and it's not always going to be in a pretty place because there aren't that many places to breathe. Maybe at 108 I could play all the way to this 8th rest at the end of line 4, but not at this speed, not at 82, not at this kind of conservative tempo. Let me try that again. I didn't take the breath that time, but I think I would come to... I think when I played it before, I made it to that low E at the end of line 4, where the fermata is. It was a very kind of anemic fermata, but maybe with practice, it would be fine. I don't think this should be forte either. I think this should be more like mezzo forte. And then just kind of continue. And then start to kind of... like as you're going down, I think it's kind of just gradually decrescendo, get softer. I don't really like it. The way Haidt wrote in his markings, it kind of seems like he wanted a terraced dynamics situation, and I don't really like that. I think I like it more gradual. To me, when playing the Rose studies, I feel like his aesthetic is more like... now, I don't know his dates off the top of my head. Music history is not my wheelhouse. Memorizing dates is not always something I'm great at. I like to think of Rose's phrasing and interpretation as more romantic and less classical. In the classical era, my understanding, based on what I gathered from the teachers I've worked with, is more like there's not much in the way of sudden changes in dynamics. Like if you're playing early Beethoven, Mozart, Haydn, etc., it's a lot of like stepping up and down. But to me, you know, Rose comes across as a bit more romantic, a bit more like, say, Brahms, you know, Schumann, etc., Weber, a lot of more dramatic crescendo and decrescendo. Like it's a little more gradual. Pacing those dynamic changes becomes even more of a factor. So that's how, I mean, you could definitely take any of these studies and say, okay, I'm going to practice this with a more classical interpretation, and then you could change your mind and say, I'm going to practice it with a more romantic interpretation or a more modern interpretation, whatever you want. But to me, it comes across as more romantic. Now, to be fair, that is kind of the era of Western art music that I am most comfortable. I like the more gradual up and down, like ocean waves, kind of. So I'm gonna do that one more time. Let's put the fingers camera on so you can watch. Settling into the slower tempo a little bit better. I'm still not 100% on that phrasing. I think I wouldn't make a final decision until I knew what my performance tempo was going to be, and then I would decide where I would breathe. Would I make it all the way to that low E, or would I breathe in the middle? And I think it's okay to postpone some of those decisions when you're practicing. This is a practice with me. I'm not performing it for you. I think the first couple of strings, I kind of tricked myself into treating this like a quick, like I'm going to put this etude in front of me, this study in front of me. I'm going to practice, I'm going to sight read it-ish for you. I'm going to practice it for you, and then perform it for you. And for some of them, maybe I can pull off like a little bit of a performance after an hour of working on it. But some of them, no, and that's okay. But I think it's good to just show, like, this is where I started, and this is what I accomplished in an hour. And even if it's still not perfect, it's still worthwhile. So let's keep going. Let's go. I'm going to keep checking in with my tempo because I know I will want to rush some of this. Okay, right there at the end of line 1, 2, 3, 4, after the fermata. So we're going to pick it up. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. I do that, and it's not written anywhere, but to me, I really like, if I'm going to do a subito piano anywhere, I really like it right here. I'm fine with Haydn's forte here, one bar earlier, and the crescendo leading into it. I actually quite like that, but with this little bit of a mood change here, I like a little subito piano. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to be a little more mindful about that change. I went a little bit faster, but it was fine. So yeah, I like this. The subito piano, it starts there on the G, and then we just start crescendoing again, like right away. So this is back to being forte. And then I just kind of like to sustain that forte all the way through the end of that phrase. Ooh, it did something weird. I don't know why. It's fine. We'll leave it. And then, as Haydn marked, a very big breath right there. I'm going to do that one more time. Now, I'm not sure how subito I want that piano to be. Is it... Is there a little bit of relaxation into that C before the breath? Or is it like full speed ahead forte into that C. Well, that wasn't pretty. I also don't think I'm going to breathe there. I can't make that dynamic transition clearly. This is not a height marking. This is something someone else inked into this before it was added to the PDF, but I don't think I can breathe there and make the dynamic transition. That this whole section of this one, I feel like there's a lot of interesting things happening, and you could maybe breathe there, but I feel like I can't sell that dynamic development and also grab that breath. I think I would rather, if I get a nice big breath after that fermata, nice and big, then I think I grab one before that octave change. Now, I know in a previous one of these, I talked about how I didn't like to breathe in some of those octave changes because they can get messy. But I might take that one in a pinch, or I'll just make it to that rest there. So let's try it one more time. I'm going to try it, the whole little section. I'm going to try it once with a little bit of like natural decay down to that piano in the beginning of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line. And then I'll go back and do it again, and I'll try it once with like treating it like a real subito piano. So I think breathing will be fine. That was fine, like phrasing wise. I'm gonna try it the other way now. I don't think I executed that exactly the way I wanted to, but I think I'm going to like that better. Also, I didn't do what I wrote here, and I want to make sure that I finish this forte. I kind of decayed. And I don't think that was the air support thing. I think I just did that. Let's do that. I'm going to do both one more time because I'm not 100% sold. I think I execute the first one better, but I like the aesthetic of the second one better. So I think if this was a case of I am practicing this and I am playing it tomorrow, then I will probably do option 1 because I feel like I execute it with greater control today, right now. But if I were working on this for a couple months and I had a little more time to really work at it, I would probably go towards fine-tuning option 2 because I just like that better. And it's good to have options. It's also good to walk into the performance space with a couple options that you can play well, and let whichever one happen that happens. Whichever one feels natural in the moment. And sometimes you get like those little moments where you have to make a split decision when you're playing, and you're like, do I breathe here? Do I don't breathe here? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I think it's really important to listen to that little voice in your head that tells you, okay, this is the right choice to make in this moment, performance wise. And I think having more than one option can sometimes be a good thing. I'm gonna keep going. I was speeding up a little bit, so I want to get my tempo again. I'm a rusher. I fully admit it. I'm a rusher. I'm working. This is why I practice with the metronome all the time. But I want to work on keeping my wits about me tempo-wise when I'm in a pressure situation, or, nerves are a factor if I feel put on the spot, whatever. Sometimes I do a good job of it and sometimes I don't. So I would just like to raise up the number of times I'm able to kind of stay grounded tempo-wise, even if like my heart's pounding or I feel it's your fight or flight response. Or was it fight, flight, or freeze? I don't know that I've ever freezed. That's not a word. I don't know that I've ever frozen in a performance, but I've definitely like triggered that flight response and just taken off, and then like been surprised I made it to the end of whatever I was playing through in one piece. This spot's a little tricky for me. I don't really know why. Let's that one more time. So this is kind of where we turn around and go back to the beginning, sort of. I almost think that this, like, these, so after we left off with that breath at the end of the A, beginning of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, first bar of line 7, I almost think we could just cut till after, like from here to here. I almost feel like those 1, 2, 3, 4 bars don't fit. Let's hear it. I don't know, maybe it adds a little interest. It's a little different, but just having that 4 bars, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm taking too long on that quarter rest at the end of that first measure there, and really it's too long, and then I'm rushing through this fermata quarter rest here. So maybe that needs a bit more attention in order for the phrasing to make sense. But I'm going to start right on that little section again. Now I'm going to try putting it together. I'm not going to go all the way back to the beginning of that little section. I'll do from the stupido piano. Oh, I messed it up. Sad. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. What do you think? Does that make more sense? I think that's what I did wrong. I too much pause in that first quarter rest and not enough pause in the fermated quarter rest. So I need to make sure I space that accordingly. So I think that's a moment of where my natural instincts are just wrong. They're just getting in the way of what the phrasing here should be, and I need to fix it. Okay, let's keep going. So let's pick it up there at the little recap-ish, and keep going. I think that crescendo that Mr. Height wrote in, I don't think I really want a crescendo, maybe just a little bit of like forward air motion, so like not getting softer. So it's not really getting louder, it's just not getting any softer. And I think I'd like a little bit of like decrescendo at the end of that. But I don't want to run over this fermated measure rest. It is supposed to be kind of abrupt and weirdly dramatic, so I don't want to compress that too much. Oh, I think I fingered that wrong. Yeah, I want to be sure to use my right hand B in that measure. I'm going to do little fingers camera. If you're not a clarinet player, this probably won't make sense. But so that B, it's our B across the break, right? This is kind of like default fingering. You really only need this pinky here, but we're kind of taught from an early age to put this one down too, because it just makes the technical work there a lot easier. And it also, most instruments, this bottom pad here is probably going to leak a little bit, especially if it's a student model. All of my students have leak down there. It's not their fault. It's just kind of the way the instrument is constructed. And having this right hand pinky down helps like secure that. But if you don't need the left hand B, or both, rather, it's better to do it here. It's just less movement to coordinate. It's a little bit easier. And I, for some reason, went for the both pinky fingering that first time, and I don't need that. I need to just do the right hand one. So it's... So let me do that little spot again. This is one spot I don't quite know how to navigate the breath. I feel like I'm going to need that breath. I can get a big one before I start here because I have that whole measure of fermated whole measure of rest. But because this is all, we're starting mezzo forte, and we're really kind of keeping that all the way through to a point where like here it's starting to get like forte. And I really think this is where the fortissimo should really be, right here. Can I make it to here without a breath? Let's try it. Let's just try it and see what happens. That was close. I don't think it really counts because I still took that weird breath where I messed up. One more time. I almost made it. I was just thinking, oh, I might actually be able to do this, and then I made a mistake, which is just proof that you just need to be careful and not lose your focus. I think I'm not going to do it like a fifth time. I think I could do it with practice. So if I had practiced it and I had settled on a tempo that was maybe a little quicker than this rehearsal tempo, I think I could do that and make it all the way to that fermated rest while still keeping this nice and loud. Because I definitely don't want that to kind of peter out and sound kind of weak. Let's do the ending. One for me, which is not good. I don't want the ending to sound the hardest. Let's do that one more time. That's better. The trills there are a little tricky. The first one, the higher G sharp to A. I feel like if I practice it, that one is pretty well within my control. I mean, it's one that can get away from me and can be sloppy if I'm not on top of my game. But it's not too bad. This lower octave G sharp to A, it's like what we talked about in number 3. You can use the psyche, which I think is what I did in the first run through. But again, it's just, on my instrument, it's just so sharp. It just doesn't sound good. So I think even though it's technically harder and technically more difficult to execute cleanly, I think I'm going to do the one where I hold the G sharp down and just trill the A there. I don't know that that's the textbook answer. I don't know that that's the best way to do that. But I think it sounds better, but I would definitely just spend some time practicing that. And it's doable. It's difficult. It needs work. It needs attention, but it's doable. To last measure being challenging for me when I learned these the first time. It's interesting how as you grow and learn and develop as a musician, things that weren't challenging before can well, no, the things that were so challenging before, they suddenly make sense, or not suddenly, but they eventually make sense, and you can play them, and it's not a big deal, and you'll have this moment of, I can't believe I lost so much sleep or worried so much about that one thing. But also the flip side can happen, like something you don't recall having an issue with or having difficulty with suddenly becomes difficult. It just shows like how much our understanding and our learning can change over time. Final playthrough. I want to keep this tempo.